Hi everyone, I'm Claire, and welcome to my channel. As some of you may know, I have a book coming out this summer. As some of you may also know, I am a current senior in college and wrote that book along with a couple of other books while I was a full-time student. So today, I wanted to make a video talking to you about how I balance school and writing. And I'm going to share with you the top 10 things that I did that made this possible. And a lot of these tips are not exclusive to being a student. These can also be applied if you are working a full-time job while also pursuing writing or doing anything else that requires a lot of your time and attention. So let's get into it. As I said before, I'm a current senior in college. I'm an English major and a foreign policy analysis minor. I've also taken many classes in screenwriting. I'm currently pursuing a senior thesis in creative writing, which is basically me working with a professor to write a novel. I've been pretty lucky because I've been able to design a college experience for myself where a lot of my work has been creative, but my novel projects have almost never, with the exception of the thesis, been part of my academic work. I have been able to workshop some novels for different creative writing classes that I've taken, but most of the work that I've done, especially in high school, has been strictly academic, and I've written my novels on the side. I wrote and published my first book, Imperfect, that book, while I was in high school. I started writing Imperfect with the intent to publish it at 13, and I published it at 15, right after I'm pretty sure I finished my sophomore year of high school, during the summer between sophomore and junior year. Then I wrote a couple of drafts in late high school and early college of the book that would eventually become my thesis. I've been writing that book forever, and I'm really excited for it to be done pretty soon. And then I started writing my thriller They Stay my sophomore year of college, and I'm just finishing it now. I'm gonna start by saying that writing while being in school full-time is very hard. It's honestly really hard to find the energy to write when you're in school full-time and taking these classes and having to apply yourself in this really rigorous way. It takes a lot out of you so that by the time you're finally done with all of your homework and work that you have to do for class, you really don't want to do anything that makes you use your brain. I just didn't want to think anymore. I was so exhausted, so it was really hard for me to bring myself to write. And then even when you do bring yourself to write, you can't often write that much just because you don't have that much time, which makes it feel like everything moves so slowly. A lot of the times it feels like nothing's ever going to get done because while you're making progress at a rate that is sometimes hard to see. But you need to ask yourself a question. How badly do you want to write? And are you willing to struggle to make it happen? If you want to write and you're willing to struggle, then I'm here to tell you it is possible. It's hard, you will be tired, but many people have done it and you can too. So here's my list of 10 tips of ways to make this happen for yourself. I'm gonna use the example of school to talk about these things because it's what I know the best. But these tips can be applied to other things too. My first tip is study your schedule. School can often feel exhausting because it doesn't feel like you have that many breaks. In high school, often it feels like you just have class after class, and after you get home, you're just so exhausted that you can't possibly think to do anything else and don't want to think about doing your homework yet. Even though it feels like you might have class all the time, you don't. Use this time wisely. Use your weekends to write. Use breaks between classes to write. Free periods, or like in high school, I would sometimes have study hours in the middle of the day, so I would use that study block instead of doing homework to write. And in college, if I had maybe an hour between classes, I would go to a coffee shop and write there, or the campus center, or the library. If I was settling in for a long study afternoon at the library, I would often start that study session by doing 1 hour of writing before I start studying. That way, I'm able to sneak in an hour of writing and warm up my brain a little bit and start the study session on a right foot because I'm already in a good mood. Use days when you don't have class. This one's more geared towards college students. Often, in college, you don't have classes every day of the week. If you have class, say, Tuesday through Friday, make Monday a day where you start the day writing. I found that I worked best when I was able to separate times that I could write from times that I did academic work. So I would usually try to get my homework done on the days that I had the busiest class schedules, and then use the days where I had lighter class schedules to work more writing in. That way, when I had to do school, I was fully focused on school, and I could fully focus on writing on the other days. Try to learn about yourself and pay attention to when you're most productive. Maybe you're like me, and you're super productive when you're able to focus your attention all on one thing. Or maybe you're more productive and have more energy when you use writing as a break and you work on school for maybe an hour and then write for an hour and then go back to doing school. You have to figure out what works for you. Also, look at the academic calendar and figure out when your busiest periods will be. Maybe there are a couple of weeks during the semester where you have a ton of midterms or AP exam week. You're probably not going to get a lot of writing done in AP exam week. And then when you have breaks from school, like Thanksgiving break or winter break, crank out those pages. Breaks are awesome times to write because A lot of the times you don't have to do too much work and you can mostly focus on writing. I'm also going to assume during this video that you generally enjoy writing and look forward to doing it. If you look forward to doing it, it's a great way to take a break from doing school and still be super productive because you're able to work on your story uninterrupted and be all happy because you've done that. My second tip is protect your writing time. Personally, I need to write in order to stay in balance. If I don't have time to write in my schedule, I just generally feel myself getting more upset and moody and aggravated and stressed out, and just my quality of life just shoots down. I don't know if you're also like this, but this means that for me, and in order for me to be in balance and in a good place as a human, I need to find time to write, and I need to protect that time. And protecting my writing time often means making sacrifices and saying no to things. It means telling Chad and Romina from French class that you can't go out and hit the town with them tonight, unfortunately. This sucks, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. There is limited time in the day, and you need to decide what's worth spending your time doing. And if writing is an important thing to you, you need to treat it like it is. Talk to the people around you about what you're working on and your story. This is good because it'll help those people hold you accountable to actually writing, because they're going to start asking you about the story. And also, it's going to hopefully, if they are good friends, make them understand why you have to say no to plans sometimes. If you explain to them why it's so important to you, they are not going to be upset with you if you have to not go and hit the town with them. But do not, and I repeat, do not prioritize writing over your schoolwork. That major commitment that you have that's taking your time away from your writing is important. You don't want to drop out of school or flunk out of school. Yes, writing is super great and important, but you have to figure out a way to balance it without neglecting that main priority. And what's great about writing is that you only get better at it with time. Do what you can, but don't neglect anything else in your life. Like, don't prioritize NaNoWriMo over homework. Because NaNoWriMo is not going to serve you as well as degrees in school will. Just a general life hack. 3, write in sprints. Writing in sprints is awesome. If you do it enough, it teaches your brain to focus on command and really snap into that focus flow state of writing quickly. If you want some more information about what writing in sprints means and how to actually do it, I've made an entire video called 5 Tips for Writing Faster, which I've linked in the description below. I've also linked a couple of articles about writing sprints right alongside that video in the description. Essentially, what a writing sprint is a concentrated period of time where you do nothing but focus on writing for the entirety of that time block. These time blocks are usually between 15 minutes and 30 minutes in length. You basically just set a timer and you write until that timer runs out. I'm a super big fan of this. I really got into writing in sprints last spring, so while I've only been doing it a year, I've seen a huge difference in the way that I'm able to focus and how many words I'm able to churn out when I actually sit down to write. My 4th tip is wake up earlier or go to bed later. This tip might not be very popular, and I understand why. Sleep is super important, but if you're really pressed for time, try shifting your sleep schedule by just 1 hour. I find that I'm more productive in the mornings, so I shifted my sleep schedule 1 hour earlier in the morning. I recognize this is not always possible. If you are in a particularly academically rigorous period like finals or midterms week or AP exam week, you really need your sleep and you are not going to want to compromise on your sleep at all. But on a more normal week, if you can, that 1 hour can make a huge difference. If you usually get up at 7, try getting up at 6. Do what you would usually do if you get up at your normal time, and then sit down to write for an entire hour. If that's all the writing that you do that day, that's all the writing that you do that day. But you did a whole hour of writing that you wouldn't have otherwise done. And that's getting you closer to achieving your goal. But please do not do this at the expense of your physical and emotional health. When I was in high school, it was pretty common for me to stay up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning writing, and then wake up super early to go to class. This made me exhausted, and it decreased my productivity for the day, both doing my writing and my academics. So be smart about it, and only do this if it's something that you can realistically do. 5, keep your eye on the prize. Be laser focused on exactly what it is that you want to do. Write down, publish a book on a giant sticky note and put it on your desk so that every morning when you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to write, you can see that on your desk and you can remind yourself why you're going through this. Yes, you're tired right now, but think of how awesome it's going to feel if you publish that book. I promise you, it feels pretty awesome. 6, think about your story when you're not writing. A lot of the work that you do while writing is thinking. You need to think about your characters. You need to think about your story. You need to think about your world. Spend the time that you're not writing thinking about your story so that by the time you do write, you will have a more fleshed out story to write about. One thing that I used to do is if I was really, really busy and I couldn't find time to write, I would record myself talking about my story on voice memos when I walked between classes in college. It might feel a little stupid, but it doesn't look that stupid because you could just be talking on the phone. Just start rambling about it. Just start talking about your characters. Just start thinking about things that could have happened to them in the past, different ways their characters could change. If there's a big problem that you're trying to work through in your world, do some talking about that. You'd be amazed what can come out when you just start rambling about something and thinking out loud. 7, befriend other writers. This can be a super fun way to get your social time in and also do some writing work. My freshman year, I remember I was friends with a writer and we would go to a coffee shop on campus a lot and just sit and write together. We get coffee and pastries and chat a little and then write some more and then chat some more. And because I also knew that she was writing, she would hold me accountable to doing my own writing, which made these sessions super productive. If you befriend other people who also love to write, you're gonna find that they're like-minded and that they share a lot of your priorities and that they also love writing and that they are also serious about it, which can be super empowering. 8, take writing classes and join clubs. In college, there are often more specific writing classes that you can take as part of your coursework, but in high school, there are a lot of extracurricular programs that you can become a part of that you can go to after school where you can meet more like-minded writers, going back to point 7, and have some more protected time to write. I remember in college my freshman year, I joined a creative writing club where I went there every Monday and would workshop parts of my story. And then my other friends in the club would workshop parts of their stories. And it was this writing community where we would all learn more about each other's stories, and I would get feedback from them on my writing, which would turn me into a better writer, even though it wasn't time where I was actually sitting at the computer and writing. And then of course, if you take writing classes, maybe you'll be surprised, and some of them will let you work on your novels if you're working on a novel. A lot of formal creative writing classes in college don't let you write novels. I got lucky and I found a class and a professor who does like teaching novels in his classes, but it doesn't often happen, which means that you'll probably have to write short stories for these classes. And if you're working on a novel, that can be frustrating because you just want to spend time working on your novel. But I promise you that the time that you spend working on those short stories is going to inform your novels and it's going to help you grow as a writer. And if you're a short story writer, that's awesome. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want. If you seek out those more academic opportunities to write, then writing can become ingrained in your academic life. 9, if you get bored in class, write. Instead of doodling in the margins of your notebook, write. Either write parts of the story that you're working on itself, or write ideas down. Write about your world. Storyboard. Try to figure out in what order things can go in. I'm not advising you not to pay attention in class, but if you're already not paying attention in class and you would be doodling otherwise, it could be at least productive to work on your story during it. I am super guilty of this. I did this all the time in both high school and college. I'm not saying this is the best way to be, but I'm saying that it's a way to be. And 10, and this is honestly the most important, be kind to yourself. This is a hard thing to do. And if things don't feel like they're moving fast enough, don't beat yourself up over it. If things just aren't happening for you one day, or you just really don't want to do anything but watch Netflix, don't write. Take breaks. Take off days. Understand what you're doing is difficult, and try to find the joy in writing. You're doing this for a reason. You're doing this because you love it. At least I hope so. Use writing to bring the joy into your life, because then it's not going to feel like such a slog. Writing is a really fun thing. So take care of yourself, be understanding, and go have fun. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more writing content coming out every Monday. My name is Claire Fraze. I'm an award-winning young adult author who posts actionable writing tips and things that helped me become a better writer. And don't forget to follow me on social media. I'm on all of the regular platforms, and all of my links are down below. I hope you have a good week, and as always, happy writing.